Hey everyone, welcome to Afterwards for episode 2 of The Return of Rasper Hawkborne. Let's talk about what happened today. A lot of this episode was just sort of getting accustomed to the ranch timeline and getting these guys sufficiently hooked, which I think we succeeded in by the end. I started with this campaign, when I initially had it all sketched out, it was a very tight couple of episodes. They would have been already like freeing and fighting Rasper, I think, in episode 2, and freeing Christine. And, you know, honestly, when I was looking at it more and more, I wasn't really satisfied with being able to spend our time in the ranch timeline. I was looking at it and being like, ugh, this is not as exciting as I want it to be. It was like we were moving towards, we were going to go to hell, and we were going to fight another enemy called the Executor. And there was going to be this whole extra thing, and it was like, this is way too much setup to try to do in 6 episodes. It's just going to end up, you know, we're just going to end up going too fast, sort of like what happened with Homecoming. I love Homecoming, but sometimes Homecoming's story sort of went too fast, and we didn't get to like spend time in some of these character moments. And I didn't get to develop all these individual characters like Renee, Renard, and Guillemon so much. I would have loved more time with them. So I scrapped all 6 parts, and I said, I kept like thinking like it'll come, and I thought, what if I just like go back to kind of the old style of prepping before I was doing these tight episode arcs, just kind of like setting some things up and then letting the PCs decide what to do. So if it seemed a little bit less prepped, that's true. I had no idea what I was going to say with Jamie. I had no idea what the players were going to do. A lot of this was just sort of like letting them make decisions on their own, and I look smart because they end up making a good decision. I did prep. I have prepped the entire. I have prepped the entire roost, the castle that Easter lives in, and so that's all prepped. And I know like where the guards move at which type of times. So however they want to get in, I'm hoping that this will end up being more like a heist, where the players will come in and will have to sort of figure out how they want to make their way through this castle, how they want to free them. Do they want to just like punch in the front door and be overwhelmed by guards? If they think they can take that many guards, then they can do that. Do they want to sneak around? So there's a bunch of different options. And really, so long as they come up with a pretty good idea, I'm going to let them do it. But that's next time. So they got the map for this. I drew 5 different types of the maps from the really crappy one that this one here. They range from this really crappy one all the way up to this one, which tells you what type of lock is on each door. There's 3 types of locks. There's a simple Aeron lock. There's a Morayish lock, which is 6 pins, which is much better. And there's a heavy Nodish 12-pin lock on a couple of these doors, which is some serious stuff. So. And then there's this one, which says like doors maybe. So I drew a bunch of different versions of this, and the highest roll was going to get the most complete map, all the way up to 25 at the highest. So they got 15, which is good. 20 is better because they would have had more information, but I kind of like them going in a little bit blind, because that sort of means that they're going to have to explore a little bit. They don't have the dungeons on that map. So they don't necessarily know the ideal way. So they're going to have to do some scouting, I think, which I'm very excited for. I threw the Procurer in there as a setup for a villain later on. The Executor is off doing his thing, and he, by some kind of mathematical procedure, has detected these characters as going to be potentially a potential anomaly later on. Or interference. Their interference probability potential is maxed, and actually starts rising as soon as the Procurers show up, because as soon as they hear Executor, they're going to be kind of turned on to him a little bit more. So that's going to be fun when we get to that point. I I'm really excited for this now that the players are hooked and on the same track, and they want to kill Rasper, and they want to free Parallel Christine. I'm glad that Brian let us sit in the ambiguity of which Rasper do we need to kill a little bit. Obviously, we have to kill bad Rasper, but just the fact that question is hanging in the air, I really like that, because the truth is we don't know for sure who's doing what at all. There's a lot of confusing talk with parallel Christines and parallel Raspers, and I kind of like that. I like that the players were sort of experiencing the confusion. You see it on a lot of TV shows, but very rarely do the people actually get to sit in the moment and know, like, okay, wait. You know, when you have 5 people actually trying to talk about 2 people that share the same name and the same kind of identity, it's very different than when you have people on the TV who kind of just seem to know the different identities. So I was pleased with how that happened. I feel a little bit bad when we got the Terra tiles out because you guys couldn't see them. I really do like them. I like that they give us they gave me the ability to, at least for our players, I would have absolutely no issue with how I use them today were I not on a show, because you guys couldn't see them. I feel like I've let you guys out of that experience, and I apologize for that if someone was like, I couldn't see the miniatures. But I really like them. This is my first time using them, but I like the idea of them because they're just a bunch of hexes. And so it's real easy to just pop one of these down or pop 2 of these down, and suddenly we have a we have a full-on location, and they're double-sided. They sent us a box of them, and I don't necessarily, it's not like I owe anyone anything by showing them, but I wouldn't bring them out if I really didn't like the idea of something that lets me very quickly, in this case, because I like to improvise a lot, I like to I decided to throw this encounter, and rather than have to draw it out, I could just lay these down. And how often do we use roads? Like, you're accosted on a country road, and they have one that I think turns them and stuff. So I really like these, but I apologize to you guys because I wasn't thinking that we don't have the table camera because of our new camera setup. So I thought that combat went very well. It was really fun to sort of see how the players have grown as again, we sort of recreate the classic Threshold scenes, but with sort of a new lens. Even though this one doesn't come from the ranch timeline, this comes from, of course, the episode Havoc and Haddock Part 1, where the Procura shows up for the first time. But there's more than one now. There's a bunch of them, and there's always been a bunch of them. But kind of we're peeling back that world a little bit, because again, it's a setup for something I want to do later. So I could tell that Kevin was getting a little bit flustered because he had to leave for work. Like literally, that's if we seemed rushed, it's because he's trying to get out the door before we finish filming. But I happen to absolutely love everything that we did today. Of course, if I reshot it again, I would do some things differently, but I really hope that you can't hear that lawnmower. Again, thank you guys for watching. I think that's all I have to say. I was a little upset that they didn't take my Willet plot hook, because he was a character that I think that they really got along with and was their friend. It sort of makes me upset a little bit, not at the players because like they weren't interested, that's fine, but a little bit upset at the characters because it's like, yeah, I mean, it was this guy who sort of died fighting alongside you a couple of years ago and they kind of ignored him, even though it's not him, and it wouldn't have felt like him. But that was just kind of another example of someone who has died, who is alive in this world. And since we won't see it, I'll just kind of explain. He is alive, but his brother Franklin is not. Because in the ranch timeline, again, people acting heroically versus selflessly, or selfishly, in this timeline, in both timelines, he had a half brother who was a half ogre because of the result of an ogre attack on his mother, and in our prime timeline, he was raised as his half brother, and in the ranch timeline, Franklin was killed immediately. So that was a story I was hoping to get to tell on camera, but apparently Jamie doesn't care. There was a couple of moments where, and I'll talk to my players about this. We started to have like some genuinely emotive moments, and then someone would come in with a joke and deflate. I know I'm referring specifically to the one that Pamela did to Brian, because that's the one that sticks out in my mind. But it's not the only one today. I think there was one where Kevin made a tiger joke during one of Rasper's moments. And again, there's nothing really wrong with that. I understand trying to break the tension, but we need to live in the tension. The tension is where like those interesting moments come from. If we totally deflate them when they happen with a joke, even though it's funny, I feel like the moment is sort of diminished. So I'm going to talk to my players about that. It'll just be kind of a general. I'm not going to single anyone out. And if you guys watch this video, shame on you. You're not supposed to watch them because this is where I single you out. But I like, again, no one really did anything today that I think is really reprehensible. I'm just going to remind them that while it may seem like it's our instinct to try to deflate the tension, to try to make people laugh, to bring the tension out of the moment, but it's when we live in those tense moments that we get the moments with like Christine and Rasper sort of breaking down at each other, or we get Jamie really feeling revealing his scarred face for the first time. If we deflate those moments, they don't live the way that they need to. So maybe for your own games, like as fun as comedy is in the games, it's also important to let those moments really stick without subverting them. Not subverting, but without deflating them, without undercutting them with comedy. So that's the Stephen Wardle DMing tip of the day: is save the comedy for the comedy and let the dramatic moments happen. That's all I got. I've talked for too long. Thanks, guys. I will see you on Monday for another episode of Threshold. Rasper and the Ranch Time. No, Return of Rasper Hawkborne. God, I'm so hungry. My editor Eric is watching this going like, Stephen, why are you talking so long? Just sign us out so we can all go home. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on Monday. Subscribe. Check out Patreon, please. We need a table cam, so help us out with some Patreon money there. I'm just going to stop talking. Goodbye.